Sony just made history by raising the price of the PlayStation 5. This is the first time we've ever seen a console's price go up after launch. They've cited that they're doing it to kind of match the price of inflation, but it doesn't make sense because they're not doing it across all regions, they're only doing it in certain regions, and they're posting record profits. So they can afford to not do this. The only region that they've not increased the price in that I'm aware of is the US, which is kind of expected because they're competing directly with Xbox in America. In America, Xbox is much larger than it is across the rest of the world, despite the fact that, honestly, I can see this whole shift happening really soon where we're going to get Xbox as the leading brand across the world. Sony's done a really good job following on from the PlayStation 4, capitalizing on Microsoft's mistakes with the Xbox One, but they're starting to struggle now. We're starting to see that slowdown happening. They've been very slow to adapt to new threats such as Games Pass. They're struggling to adapt to things like crossplay, where they're charging developers to use crossplay on their platform. Like, they're so anti-consumer with a lot of their choices they're making now. They've gone from being for the players to being for their wallets. They were the ones that introduced the £70 game, for example. That was Sony. Sony was the one that kind of set that as the benchmark, and now third-party publishers are following through with it. But, you know, when compared with Microsoft, who are offering you these games either £60 or $60, or you can play them via their Games Pass service day one. PlayStation doesn't offer anything day one. Like, we've not got this kind of like opportunity for them to fight back. Not to mention the fact that their subscription service that they do have isn't able to get the same amount of like install basis that you've got on the Xbox, purely on the fact that they are not supporting it properly. On the, like, you need to own a PlayStation console to access the subscription service, but you can't get hold of a PlayStation console without spending more money. Whereas on the Xbox console, you can buy a Series S for like £250. Like, that's you done. Then you're just paying for your subscription model. That's got you done for games for the entire generation. You will never need to buy another game if you don't want to. If you're a casual fan, then that's you sorted. If you're a bit more of a hardcore fan, though, you can buy those extra games like Call of Duty and things like that. Although, if Microsoft's Activision purchase goes through, then you won't need to buy Call of Duty because it will also be on Games Pass. Again, though, that was caused because Sony was spending money to block games getting to Games Pass, so Microsoft starts buying publishers. Now Microsoft's going to weather this storm, keeping their consoles down nice and low in price compared to Sony, that's charging an extra 10% on every one of their consoles. Now we might start seeing the shift with the brand loyalty. It's only going to last so far. How many times does Sony get to kick you before you turn around and say, do you know what? Maybe I'll try it on the other side. I know that they say the grass is always greener on the other side, but on the Xbox it really is. There's very little to dislike about your time on the Xbox now. I'd like to say that the exclusives may keep the PlayStation in the race, but most of their exclusives are going to PC now. We're seeing Death Stranding now landing on PC Games Pass. God of War went over to PC. Spider-Man's now on PC. The Last of Us has been announced to be moving over to PC. We're really starting to see more and more of the exclusive games that PlayStation is known for heading to PC. And I think that as time goes on, and the fact that Sony must be hurting for money if they're thinking about raising the price of the base console, that we might see more games coming to PC sooner rather than later. Like, we won't be waiting years for games to get to PC now. We're going to probably be looking at 6 months until eventually they're just going to go day and date, the same as Xbox. Of course they are. It makes sense. Why would you not go day and date? Why would you not put something out there that you can just make your money from? You don't have to manufacture a console. You just manufacture the game, put it out. Anything that you make, that's like pure profit there. Whereas on a console, you've got to offset the costs of production, which no matter what, the console's sold at a loss, even if they're raising the price. So you're going to have to offset that cost. You need to try and get people onto your subscription service if that's what you're using. You need to do all these other extra steps, which you don't have to do if you're just producing to the PC. That's why Microsoft started putting all their games on PC, because it's effectively free money sat on the table. Why would you not? But then the question comes into, why would you buy a console if everything's on PC? And that's probably ease of access. But again, ease of access is very similar to cost of access. If you're entering a recession like we are now, why would you spend more money on a console that's not running games as well as the other console? the Digital Foundry is constantly running like comparisons between PlayStation 5 and Xbox, and 9 times out of 10, Xbox beats PlayStation on most third-party games. So there's very, very little reason to be purchasing into the PlayStation brand at the moment. Not to mention them raising the price, not to mention the fact that it's charging you £70 for a game, not to mention the fact that they're not giving you your games day one on Games Pass. You know, not to mention that they're charging their publishers to have crossplay, so PlayStation's starting to get cut out of the crossplay loop. You know, how many anti-consumer takes do they have to do until we say enough's enough and just switch to Xbox, just switch to Nintendo? Play on anything, I don't really care, like it's up to you at the end of the day. It's just very, very interesting to see this big kind of market switch. And this news to have come out at the same time as Gamescom, they're clearly trying to hide it within all the sort of like news of new games coming out and new announcements and trailers and stuff. It's kind of a strange, I mean, it makes sense for them, but it's kind of a strange thing to do in the first place. And Microsoft has announced that it's not going to follow in the price increase, because why would they? They're a multi-billion dollar company, the same as Sony, but their divisions all firing. They're all doing great. Whereas Sony's divisions in their TV networks are just going down. The TV's not doing great. Their movies aren't particularly performing well outside of Spider-Man. Their cameras do okay, but it's kind of a really niche market. Obviously, they don't really make radios so much these days, with a couple of car things. So we're starting to see like kind of a decline in their general market. Their music industry doesn't make as much money as it used to. Video games is where the money's at. Video games has been bigger than movies for a long time now. So it makes sense that they're trying to capitalize on that. But by capitalizing on that, they might be alienating their fans. I don't know. Obviously, everyone's going to do their own thing. People keep buying Apple products, so who am I to try and guess what's going to happen next? Anyway, if you agree with me, then let me know down below. If you disagree with me, then let me know down below. I feel so weird pointing now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, smash that like button, hit sub if you've enjoyed this content and you want to see a little bit more. And yeah, I've been Pete, you guys have been awesome, and until the next one, I'll see you later.